Today's episode is the first Alone with Judith episode of 2021. In this episode, I look back at 2020, reflect on what we, the world, have learnt, what I have hoped to achieve, and what actually happened in that year. I also look forward to 2021, the things that I'd like to happen, as well as why we need Maverick Leaders now more than ever. Have a listen to this short episode and ponder on what you are going to do to make 2021 work for you. Before we begin our conversation, here is a quick shout out to the pathologically curious. Check out the Maverick Paradox magazine. It's a digital magazine written by Mavericks for business owners and professionals. You can find the magazine at themaverickparadox.com. The magazine's aim is to provoke maverick leadership everywhere. Welcome to the Maverick Paradox podcast, where we explore what it is to be a maverick and discover effective modes of leadership. I am Judith Germain, and my mission is to propel the maverick mindset into a world where character and integrity will ultimately have a higher premium than personality and bureaucracy. So thank you for joining me on this journey. If you would like to continue with me, then please subscribe to my podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, or one of the other popular podcast platforms. Today, we will depart from our usual conversation with format to talk about how to make 2021 work for you. Before we do that, however, I'd like to say Omega 2020, good riddance. We have finally reached the end of 2020, and what a year it has been. I know I'm not the only one who has been looking back at 2020 and wondering what on earth happened. It is extremely tempting to define 2020 as the year of COVID-19 and to forget everything else that has happened globally and personally. But that would be a mistake. However, I do think it's fair to say that the pandemic has captured the attention of the entire world. Many have died, whether that's directly or indirectly attributed to COVID-19, and millions have lost jobs or businesses, and there has been a great deal of suffering all around the world. It has felt that the whole world has been shut down, locked down. We have seen such distrust of our leaders, our organisations and our institutions. What started as a reliance on fake news propagated by Donald Trump has escalated into a distrust of scientists, experts or anyone not in our own tribe. It is dangerous to our health and to our sanity. Who to believe, what to believe, when to believe. Questions. And yet, there has been hope, kindness and love from one stranger to another. Whilst the coronavirus has brought out the very worst in people, it has also brought out the very best. There has been maverick leaders and organisations to admire, such as Jacinda Ardern, the New Zealand Prime Minister, Marcus Rashford, who lobbied the UK government to extend free school meals during the school holidays, and institutions like churches and community groups feeding and supporting local communities. It's afforded time to reflect, to consider what is really important and how we want to spend the rest of our lives. It has spawned creativity as we search for new things to work and do to survive, and has pushed us out of our comfort zones as we grew into new beings and organisations, selling, making, producing new things to consumers who are more cautious and more critical of our intentions. But other things did happen in 2020. There was a 6.4 magnitude earthquake in Puerto Rico. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex announced stepping back from being senior royals. On the 22nd of January 2020, China locked down Wuhan in an effort to control COVID-19. The UK formally withdrew from the European Union. The last Ebola patient was discharged in Benin. The World Health Organization on the 11th of March declared COVID-19 a pandemic. And in May, the murder of George Floyd by US police caught on video ignited widespread global and US national protests. During 2020, Twitter added warning labels to warn everyone about the inaccuracies of Donald Trump's tweets for the first time ever. In June, we saw the highest ever recorded temperature in the Arctic Circle. In September, we learned that there might be life on Venus. September saw more than 50 arrested as Portland, Oregon marked 100 days of protests against racism and police brutality. Naomi Osaka wins her second US title in tennis. November brought the news that former Vice President Joe Biden became president-elect. And in December, the first COVID-19 vaccine was administered in the UK. However, a meagre 2020, good riddance. One thing is for certain, that year ended poised for change. But what about me? Well, I wrote on New Year's Day in 2020 that this year, 2020, saw a shift for the Maverick Paradox. In the period of October 2019 to December 19, the Maverick Paradox stable was determined. This year sees the stable being refined, defined and nurtured. I also wrote that the new website for the Mavericks in the workplace went live at the end of October 2019, which is the maverickparadox.co.uk, which joined the maverickparadox.com, where we learn about Mavericks and download the Maverick Paradox podcasts. And the launch of the Maverick Paradox magazine took place, and that magazine is written by Mavericks to provoke Maverick leadership everywhere. I set up a new LinkedIn page for the magazine and a new Twitter account, and I said I was going to start writing book 2 in 2020, and I would do more professional speaking, place, and of course new clients. So, question, how did I do? Well, I did refine, define and nurture the Maverick Paradox stable. However, in December of 2020, I decided to completely revamp that website with new content and a radical new look. Do go check it out. It's maverickparadox.co.uk, the new company website. The magazine did go live on January 13, 2020 with some great writers. There has been a number of LinkedIn pages added to the portfolio, and the Twitter account was set up and is being utilised. I had decided to write my book in April 2020, but then decided not to do this once it became clear that we were in a pandemic. The UK went into its first lockdown at the end of March, so I put the energies into the magazine instead and transitioned it into new areas of activity. Well, my professional speaking went online, and after a time of clients cancelling and postponing working with me due to the lockdown, I gathered new clients wanting me to deliver different things. So it's been an interesting year for sure. I'd like to say a meagre 2020, good riddance. You were transforming, but it is time for a change. Alpha 2021. The need to develop Maverick Leaders is stronger today than it's ever been. Well, how to make 2021 work for you? Well, we know 2020 was quite the year. That being said, all effective Maverick leaders realise the need to recognise the past for the learning that it gives you, and the need to live in the present to enjoy the moment, and to look to the future with hope and optimism. So, we're now in a new year, and we should take a minute to be grateful for the things that we have done before we prepare for the year ahead. For this year, I have a lot of things that I would like to achieve. However, 2021, January the 1st, saw the UK leaving Europe. And in April, we see the start of IR35. Both will have far-reaching effects on those that work within the UK. It is unclear what the long-term opportunities and consequences are. What we do know is that conducting business will be harder in the UK. So I can only make best guesses and take a pragmatic approach. So this year sees a shift for the Maverick Paradox. As I've said before, the new website, maverickparadox.co.uk, is now live. And it's for aspiring Maverick leaders and organisations. And I will continue to develop it over the year. I have a number of new ventures that are starting this year, and I'll talk about those when I can. I am going to attempt to write book 2 this year, probably starting in quarter 3. And I'm going to start doing more talking head videos, which scares me senseless. But, you know, no Maverick is comfortable in the comfort zone. So let's see how it works out. Is that all I'm going to do? Well, of course not. But however, it's better to do rather than to say. So let's see what can be achieved this year. However, let's have a little sneak peek. This year does see the beginning of a new venture with Mark Brenner and Nick Day and myself. And we have called ourselves the Maverick Leaders. Mark Brenner and Nick Day are clients of mine, and in November 2020 I recognised 3 things. 1. We are all Maverick Leaders, socialised Mavericks working for the greater good. 2. We like each other. We have similar values and abilities, and different and complementary. And 3. We have unique skills which, when brought together, are powerful. So, after a short conversation, we decided to launch the Maverick Leaders with the speed and determination of socialised Mavericks. The Maverick Leaders work with organisations to solve challenging problems with Maverick creativity, capability and conviction. And we're hosting our first event on 28th of January at 12 p.m. UK time. It's an unusual event, the title of which is The Diversity Impact. Is diversity and inclusion in danger of becoming a fad? Check out the Maverick Paradox magazine at themaverickparadox.com to register for the event. Over time, you will learn about the Maverick Leaders and what makes us different when we work with our clients and why our events are not what you would expect. This year, 2021, brings much change, and globally we have learned a few things, in part thanks to the pandemic that began last year and which shows no signs of stopping despite the occurrences of new vaccines hitting the market. So what has 2020 taught us? That the thought process and behavioural mannerisms of the socialised maverick is needed, as the old way was bad and we mustn't go back to the world's selfish ways. Here are a few things we, the world, have slowly begun to recognise. We cannot manage alone. In the West particularly, we have become restricted to our family ties, to just a nuclear family, being just too busy to see our parents or share our children with them, so stuck on the daily grind and the acquisition of stuff to wake up and look around at the world we have created for ourselves. The belief that we did it all ourselves, and if I help you, it diminishes what I have achieved, are belief systems that are alien to the socialised maverick. And thankfully, this fallacy has been exposed for what it is, even in the most capitalist societies in the world. We cannot manage alone, and neither can you. If we are to survive, then we must help you to survive. If we do not, we will destroy our own mental health. Well-being is important in your workplace. This is perhaps the most surprising change in the workplace. For literally decades, leadership teams have dismissed the need to actively do something that nurtures and builds workforce well-being. Then COVID hit and forced change. Now there is a recognition that the mental health of employees and leaders are important. We need breaks, nurturing contact, meaningful work. There is more to do though. For those with poor mental health, they also deserve love and attention. Perhaps this year, 2021, will see companies and leadership teams become the maverick leaders they could be and actually care about their employees and the lives that they lead. Not pretend, but care. We will all be the better for it, and their companies will thrive. We've also learnt that connection is everything. Last year, we were unable to meet up with loved ones. We couldn't hug them, kiss them, be with them. We couldn't attend care homes or hospitals when they were ill. Some of our family died and we couldn't be with them in their last moments. They died alone and not witnessed by anyone. Some of our family and friends got married and we couldn't be there. Some watched on Zoom and others imagined what it was like. It wasn't the same. All of that hurt. Still hurts. And we miss our work colleagues. Who would have thought that? We miss seeing them face to face, giggling over coffee and sharing our weekend stories. Yep, even seeing the ones we don't like. It was just part of the rhythm of work. That rhythm is different now, and seeing them remotely to just discuss work doesn't cut it. Not by a long chalk. We learnt that work can be different. Paradoxically, we love working remotely. How's that? Well, we love the convenience of working from home, the ability to have more control and autonomy, the ability for some to work around the family. We hate not interacting in the way we want, when we want. On top of everything else, we just miss people. Yep, even the ones we work with. Most managers have understood the complexities of working from home and are being kinder and more realistic with their expectations. Others have gone the other way with micromanaging and key logging software. But these companies, they're not going to last long. We are all looking at the world of work, wanting to capture the best of the new ways of working and leaving the rest. We are seeing our managers and our organisations for what they are and not always liking what we see. We've learned that diversity is important and not just in ethnicity, following the deaths of Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor and George Floyd in quick succession sparked a new wave of Black Lives Matter protests in the United States. What was different this time is that people began protesting the world over. The social movement then entered the business world. Organisations the world over began looking into diversity and inclusion, and whether everyone had a voice and was being listened to. Business leaders dusted off the studies around diversity and relearned that their companies benefited from being more diverse. Maverick Leaders go a step further, believing in cognitive diversity, the diversity of thought. Yes, a diverse workforce is desired, essential even, and cognitive diversity is often the key to Maverick leadership. I help individuals, business owners and organisations to strategize, innovate and execute, and cognitive diversity is key. You cannot craft great solutions when everyone around you thinks the same and has the same life experiences. Diversity, cognitive diversity, is key to a successful 2021. What we need is leaders, and Maverick leaders at that. If 2020 taught us anything, it has been the need to have good leaders that work for the greater good and not their own selfish interest. We need leaders at the individual level. Yes, that's you. In our workplaces, that might be you or others. Running our businesses, yep, that could still be you. And running our countries, yep, that still could be you. We desperately need people, that includes you, that take a collective interest in the world around us. We, as individuals, impact hundreds of people, those that lead thousands, and in the case of world leaders, millions, billions. We have learned that change starts with us, not just how we interact with the world around us, but what we vote for and what we accept. We need to become Maverick leaders prepared to impact and influence for the greater good with integrity, empathy, and passion. Come on, be different, act different, and change the world we live and work in. We desperately need you to. At the Maverick Paradox, we improve your impact and influence by enabling you to effectively strategize, innovate, and execute. To find out more, contact us at judith@maverickparadox.com. Thank you. If you are pathologically curious and would love to find out more about the Maverick Paradox, then please subscribe to this podcast on one of the popular podcast platforms. Alternatively, you could explore our resources on Mavericks at maverickparadox.com or read the Maverick Paradox magazine. We publish frequently each week. If you subscribe, you will get our monthly newsletter. And let's not forget my book, The Maverick Paradox, The Secret Power Behind Successful Leaders. For those that love a good discussion, you could apply to join our exclusive Facebook group. Finally, if you would like to work with us or are interested in the Maverick at work, check out maverickparadox.co.uk.